Before we begin, take just a second and subscribe to this channel. Because this isn't just another place for stories. This is where real lives unfold, where quiet truths are spoken out loud, where stories don't just entertain you, they stay with you. They sit with you long after the video ends, echoing in your thoughts, softly reshaping the way you see your own life. So if you've ever felt something you couldn't explain, if you've ever looked at your life and thought, something is missing, but I don't know what, then you're in the right place, because today's story is about one of those moments, not loud, not dramatic, not explosive, but the kind that slowly, quietly changes everything. There are moments in life that don't arrive with noise. They don't slam doors. They don't demand attention. They don't come with warning signs. They slip in gently, almost invisibly. And by the time you notice them, they've already changed something inside you. My name is Serena. I'm 38 years old, and for most of my life, I truly believed I had everything figured out. Not perfectly, no one ever does, but enough to feel secure, stable, safe. From the outside, my life looked complete. I had a husband, a home, a child, the kind of life people admire quietly, the kind of life people assume is happy. My husband, Matthew, was exactly the kind of man the world tells you to respect. Ambitious, driven, focused. His days were filled with meetings, deadlines, business calls, flights, always chasing something bigger. And he was good at it. He provided for us. He made sure we never struggled financially. He built a life that looked solid, dependable, and for a long time, I convinced myself that was enough, because that's what we're taught, isn't it? That love can live quietly beneath responsibility, that presence can be replaced by provision, that if everything looks right, then it must be right. But there's something no one really tells you. A house can be full and still feel empty. At first, it was subtle, so subtle I almost ignored it. Matthew would sit next to me, but his attention was somewhere else. His phone, his laptop, his thoughts, even when he was physically present. He wasn't really there, and I tried to understand. I told myself, he's working hard. For us, I told myself, this is what responsibility looks like. But over time, understanding turned into distance, and distance turned into silence. Our conversations changed. They became shorter, simpler, practical. Did you pay the bill? What time will you be back? Do we need groceries? The kind of conversations that keep life functioning, but slowly drain the meaning out of it. Dinner became quiet, not peaceful quiet. Not comfortable silence, but heavy, suffocating quiet, the kind where words exist, but never get spoken. Nights felt longer than they should. Days felt repetitive, and slowly, something unfamiliar crept into my life. Loneliness. Not the kind where you're physically alone, but the kind where you feel invisible, even when someone is sitting right next to you. It's a strange feeling. To have everything you thought you wanted, and still feel like something essential is missing. Sometimes I would walk through the house, room to room, not because I needed to do anything, but because I needed to feel something, to hear movement, to remind myself I was still there, that I hadn't quietly disappeared into the background of my own life. And then there was Leo, my son, to years, old, strong-willed, independent. The kind of person who doesn't follow expectations and doesn't apologize for it. He didn't go to college, didn't chase the traditional path. Instead, he worked long hours at a grocery store. Physical work. Honest work. Part of me worried about him. Wondered if he was missing out. But another part of me respected him deeply, because he wasn't pretending to be someone he wasn't. He was building his life. His way, and yet, even between us, there was distance, not cold, not painful, just quiet. We lived under the same roof, shared the same space, but rarely shared ourselves. That summer was unbearable. The heat wasn't just outside. It crept into everything. The walls, the air, even the silence felt heavier. Time slowed down. Everything felt stuck. One morning, Matthew left again. Another business trip, another week away. Leo had already gone to work, and suddenly, The house felt different, too quiet, too empty, and for the first time, a question hit me hard. When was the last time this place felt like a home? Not just a structure, not just walls and furniture, but something alive, something warm, something real. I couldn't remember. Later that day, Leo came home. Sweat covered his shirt, his face flushed from the heat. "Mom, it's insanely hot today," he said casually. He grabbed water, sat down, and for a moment, we just sat there, no phones, no distractions, just silence. But this time, it felt different, like something was waiting to be said. But neither of us knew how to start. The next day, something unexpected happened. Leo came up to me. Not casually, but intentionally. "Mom," he said, "what if we go somewhere? Just us, a small trip, a reset." It caught me off guard, not because it was strange, but because it meant something. It felt like he was reaching out, like he noticed something I hadn't said out loud. And for a moment, I almost said yes, but instead, I hesitated. I thought about Matthew, about what it might mean, and I said, "Maybe another time." I saw it, that small flash of disappointment in his eyes. He didn't argue, didn't push, but it stayed with me, long after the moment passed. That evening, something changed. We sat together as the sun set, the room filled with warm light, and for the first time in a long time, we talked, not about schedules, not about responsibilities, but about life, memories, childhood moments, things we had forgotten and rediscovered together. We laughed. Real laughter. The kind that comes from connection. The kind that reminds you what it feels like to be present. Then, suddenly, he grew quiet and said something that stayed with me. "I just wish this house felt like home again." No anger, no blame, just honesty, and somehow that hurt more because I realized he felt it too. Later that night, he asked me something I wasn't ready for. "Mom, why do you seem so distant lately? Why don't you smile like you used to?" I could have avoided it, changed the subject, gave a simple answer, but something in his voice stopped me, and for the first time in years, I told the truth about the loneliness, about the distance, about the silence in my marriage. I didn't exaggerate, I didn't dramatize, I just spoke honestly, and he didn't interrupt, didn't judge, didn't try to fix anything. He just listened, then gently said, "Mom, I'm here." And something inside me broke, not in pain, but in release. And I cried. After that night, things didn't magically become perfect, but something shifted, subtly, quietly, but undeniably. I realized something important. Connection doesn't need to be dramatic to be powerful. Sometimes, it's simply about being seen, being heard, being understood. When Matthew returned, I couldn't pretend anymore. I told him everything, not accusations, not anger, just truth. And his response? I didn't know, and I believed him, because sometimes people don't notice what's fading until it's almost gone. The weeks that followed weren't easy, but they were real. Matthew started changing, not perfectly, but intentionally. Less travel, more presence. I started therapy, facing things I had ignored for years, understanding myself again, learning boundaries, learning what I needed, instead of what I was taught to accept. Leo eventually moved out, not because something was broken, but because something had been fixed. We started having weekly dinners. Simple, consistent, real. We talked, we listened. We laughed again, and slowly, the house changed, not perfect, but alive. I learned something through all of this. Silence can be louder than arguments. Loneliness is not weakness, it's a signal. And connection requires intention. I still love Matthew, not in a perfect way, but in a real, evolving way, and I love Leo. Not as someone who fills a void, but as his own person. Our life isn't what it used to be, but maybe that's okay, because what we have now is honest, and sometimes Honesty is more powerful than perfection. If you've ever felt invisible, if your home feels quiet in ways it shouldn't, if you feel distance growing where love once lived, don't ignore it. Speak, reach out, ask for help, because silence doesn't fix itself. It grows, until one day, it becomes harder to repair. Thank you for staying with me. And if this story meant something to you, subscribe to the channel, because there are more stories here. Stories that heal, stories that teach, and stories that remind you you're never truly alone.